630.
WMAL.
8:37 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Tori Clark, former Pentagon spokeswoman in the House this morning. All right, we've been talking about it all morning long. The end of days. Is it happening on Saturday, May 21st, that is. Make sure I
get the date right.
Yeah, May 31st is actually my anniversary, which could have been the day. Which means I don't have to get a present, though, if that is the case, if it works out that way. Gunther von Harringa joins us now. He is a representative of Family Radio and director of the Bible Ministries International. Gunther, good morning. I don't want to put any words in your mouth. You tell me what's going to happen on Saturday.
Good morning. Well, the Bible indicates that God will open up all the graves around the world, and everything that's in those graves is going to come out to the surface of the earth. And as a result of that, the true believers, those that have been genuine believers that have died, their bodies will be reconstituted and they will be transformed into a glorified spiritual body, and then they will ascend into heaven. They will be followed by any believer that is alive on the planet, and the same thing will happen to them. The remains of everyone else is going to be left on the ground as a shame in the eyes of God. And then 153 days of judgment will start and will end on October 21st, when God will annihilate the entire universe.
All right, so people who are dead now, who are buried in cemeteries, will then rise up. But I thought if you were a true believer, then you are already in heaven. So
excellent question. Yeah, excellent point. Absolutely, their soul is in heaven, but their body, of course, that was not redeemed, is still in the ground. And so whatever's left of their body, whether it's bones or dust or, whatever, is going to be instantly transformed and into this glorified spiritual body.
Okay. I just didn't think the body actually mattered. I thought it was all about the spirit anyway, and that the body was just kind of a vessel.
Actually, it's so interesting that God places so much emphasis on the body, even though the body has not been redeemed. It's not like they're going to get a new body. He actually literally transforms the body, sort of like when you have a caterpillar and then it becomes a butterfly.
Gunther, can you explain the timing? There's actually substantive information in the Bible, right, that explains why it happens to be 2011?
Yes, it is. That's a good point. One of the main proofs is that we've learned about 40 years ago that the flood occurred in 4990 BC, which was huge information along with other significant dates.
I don't mean to interrupt. How did we figure that out just 40 years ago?
Well, no one knew prior to that any of the significant dates in the Bible as far as, when creation was, when the flood was, and these type of significant biblical events. Mr. Harold Camping was actually the one that made the discovery. He spent about 5 years doing very intensive research on Genesis 5 and 11 at a Near Eastern library, which was part, at that time, of the Pacific School of Religion in California, in the Bay Area. He had become good friends with the curator, and he had even given him a key. And so he could go in and out at his leisure and just do nothing but study. And after 5 years, he came to the conclusion that Genesis 5 and 11 are actually calendars. And the men that are named within those calendars, the patriarchs, actually themselves are calendars. So that in Noah's day, he was the calendar patriarch of his day. That's why it says in the 600th year of Noah's life, the second month, the 17th day, the flood hit. It was based on him as the calendar. Well, as a result of that, he was then able to, because that covers about 9,500 years of history, he was able to work back all the way to creation. And so we know, when you coordinate that with our modern calendar, we know that 4990 BC was the date of the flood. Excuse me. Now, if you go 7,000 years from 4990 BC, you get to 2011,
right,
minus the year 1. There's no year 0.
All right, so let's talk about what's going to happen on Saturday then. You mentioned that people would rise, I guess, from graveyards and things like that. Now, will people disappear, who those are true believers, and will those other people be left here on earth, and what will happen to those people here on earth?
Well, God indicates there's going to be an earthquake of gargantuan proportions like we've never seen on the earth, a global earthquake, which is going to start somewhere at the beginning of the date line, the international date line, New Zealand, Australia, and about 6 p.m. That day, May 21st. And so then it's going to roll its way around the world, and as it does, there's going to be massive destruction everywhere. And as it rolls around, the believers will ascend into heaven, both those that have died as well as the living.
And then for 153 days, those left here will essentially be left to deal with all kinds of more problems on Earth.
Oh, it's unimaginable, the chaos, the destruction, the death. The Bible indicates that bodies will not even be able to be buried, because who knows? You know, maybe millions or perhaps 1 billion people will die that first day, and then every day thereafter, you have all the aftermath of the destruction and what that's going to cause. I liken it to the earth really being turned inside out.
But if you're a true believer, then are you going to live through this? Are you going to make it through this?
No. The true believers are gone May 21st.
They're all gone.
They're taken out.
They're all taken out.
They're all taken out. They will not experience any hurt or damage, just like, remember when God brought the plagues to Egypt. Now, the Israelites were living in Egypt, but none of the plagues affected them, even though they were right there.
So only the non-believers will be left on Earth.
Exactly.
So you sound very calm talking about this. I mean, remarkably calm. So what are you doing this week?
Well, I'm
personally,
calm only because I know one thing for a fact, and that is that God is totally in control of all of this. It's been, he talks about it in the Bible, and really the underlying issue that really is important is the fact that this is not a message that's coming from an individual or a group of individuals. This is coming from God himself. In fact, in Ezekiel 33:7, God says, "Warn them from me." If we didn't have an accurate date, we could not warn anybody effectively. You know, to say, well, you know, there might be an earthquake, 7-8 years from now, no one's going to pay attention to that. Well, if you say, like they did in Japan, you got 15 minutes and the tsunami's going to hit, everybody pays attention.
Will we actually see God? I mean, will Jesus show?
We won't see God. The believers will, of course. The non-believers won't, but they will see that it's the day of judgment. That will be instantly recognizable as this worldwide earthquake, goes around the world, as all the graves are open, and they see believers rise. This is something that we could possibly witness, provided that all of the technology has not been destroyed in the process. In other words, New Zealand and Australia are 16 hours ahead of us. We could see that. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, when we see that, if we see that, it will be too late, because the day of salvation will have passed. Mm-hmm. And that's the worst part of this. And that's why we're encouraging people to go to familyradio.com to check out the information in the Bible, and then, of course, everyone has to draw their own conclusion.
All right, Gunther. Good to have. Are you hoping that you're right?
I'm not right. The Bible is right, and that's as I said, that is the key, and that's why we want people to check and see what does the Bible say, and to focus on that, because this is not a man's prediction. This is information that God is revealing to the human race, because we're running out of time.
Good to have you on the program, Gunther. Thank you.
Sir. My pleasure.
Gunther von Harringa, spokesman for Family Radio here on WMAL, says... just for the record, I did not play that. Mike McKay, our engineer, played that, not me. 8:46 on WMAL. A little late for traffic.